Our analytics tool, built in collaboration with Instoa, provides a seamlessly integrated application to visualize and analyze KPIs that matter the most to your respective teams. We will be focusing on how you can ensure your customers are satisfied with your services. With that, trending CMS customer surveys can be deployed, confirm that your team is being productive, enable labor hours to be easily documented and tracked, verify your ITM and PM program is operating efficiently. This will ultimately empower optimal regulatory compliance.
And so how does CMS Analytics work? When we're talking about CMS Analytics, what does that kind of look like in the end? You use CMS every day to manage your work orders, to schedule work orders, to assign those to technicians. They go out, they do work, that work's logged against an asset. You do inspections, those generate readings, those readings pass, they fail. All of this different data is being generated in CMS as a software. And that data is going to be generated just through normally using the software. After that, your data is snapshotted daily, and the data from CMS is loaded into a data warehouse that's kind of in between your final reports and the CMS software that you're using. And then on our side, we take that data that's being snapshotted each day, and we have a reporting server that kind of models that data. It shapes it differently. It pre-calculates some metrics, and then finally loads all of those metrics into a reporting server that is the dashboards that you see at the end. And we take these dashboards and we take these reports, and they're embedded back into the CMS software so that within the same system that you're using to generate all of this data, you can click on an analytics button, and within that same system also view the kind of impacts of your data and the results of your data. And all of this happens daily with a few pieces of data getting snapshotted more frequently than that. But all of this, once it's set up and it's running, it requires virtually no maintenance on the part of the user. You just get this environment kind of set up. You train your users to start looking at data and finding the values from that data. And the system just kind of works in perpetuity.
I think that's the key point, Justin, is item number one you mentioned here. You use CMS just as you normally do. So all this occurs on the back end. Your data is refreshed and populated, and your dashboards are populated. And so all you have to do is use CMS and then access the dashboards that come out of the box for you to have that visibility into performance.
And I think that's kind of what the overall solution strives for, simplicity in that aspect. And so what does all this allow you to do? So that's kind of what CMS is, and how you use it, but what do you really get out of these reports? Really, you get an all-encompassing kind of reporting package, and that having all of your data in one place and having these reports designed in the way that they're designed allows you to do things like historical comparisons. So if you want to look at data from this week and compare it to last week, or you want to look at this quarter and compare it to last quarter, or maybe you've been tracking a certain metric and you recently made a process change and you want to see how that process is performing now versus the last year of the old process. You can do those comparisons and see, how has metric XYZ changed over time. You can also drill down to see the kind of data that's underlying your metrics. So let's say you're looking at a metric and you say that 92% it's lower than I would expect it to be. We've got to be at least 95%. You can directly from these metrics kind of start drilling in and seeing, I expected this to be 95%, but look at these 5 work orders that all they don't support metric XYZ. So maybe we need to find out what caused the issues in those work orders and see if we can't implement processes to fix that. And lastly, real-time interactivity. So this is the kind of big key component that the kind of reporting server that we use underneath this allows for. When you're looking at your data, you have all of this data in a dashboard in one place, but then you can begin to click on things. And so what John's showing now, this historical comparison. So we can take this customer satisfaction results that we're seeing on screen, and we can look at it over time and kind of see over time our response rate's been a little bit varied, and maybe we're looking at soon implementing a new process to improve the number of people that respond to our surveys. And then we would be able to see, compared to our old rates, how did this change? Can we notice a definable impact in our timeline graph now after we implement this new process? And this screen shows kind of how simple it is. Let's say that we were looking at this screen and we wanted to suddenly take one of these tables. Everything in CMS Analytics is kind of grouped by different dimensions that we break things down by. In this case, I'm looking at an asset category graph, And let's say I, want to see why for a certain asset it's 67%, then I can right click on it, I can drill through, and I can view all of those assets with their work order data that are making up that specific metric that I clicked on. And then lastly, the real-time interactivity. So I can take any of these reporting pages, any of these analyses that I have, and you'll see on the left side, you can quickly, let's say I want to see the results only for a certain facility or a certain, I only want to see plumbing as a trade. Then I can click on these slicers and filter these, and the entire report page that I'm looking at in real time updates to only show numbers that meet that criteria. And if I don't want to make a permanent, a semi-permanent change like selecting on a slicer, then I can just click on something within these visuals. Like in this case, if I click on electrical, then everything else in the report updates filtered only by that, in this case, the trade being electrical. And we can see that the KPIs in our top left update, the user labor hours on our right side update. So most likely all of the people that we would be seeing in this analysis would be either electricians or techs who have been tasked with inspecting some sort of electrical equipment. But very quickly, I'm able to click through this and start to see how different ways of looking at the data and different ways of slicing the data impact my analysis.